Hey there, let's talk about cake. I don't know about you, but ever since I was little, to hear the word put a smile on my face. Of course, cake is something that we relate to celebration, to sweet stuff, to feeling good. In my whole life, I have only met one person that does not like cake. As for the rest of us, we love it. I even heard once that the best thing about being an adult is that you can buy cake whenever you want. So cake will always be a great idea for a theme. The options when it comes to drawing are endless. And the truth is that ever since I was a little kid, I have always loved drawing cakes, desserts, and anything related to sweet stuff because it not only tastes good, but it also looks really, really nice. So let me tell you a little bit about how I came up with this theme. It was actually one night when I just woke up and I could not go back to sleep. It got to a point where I was not even sleepy anymore. So like most of us, as I am sure, we go to Instagram to start scrolling. And so I came across one of these cakes that in reality are masterpieces. The recording that I'm showing you is the actual cake that inspired me to make this theme. So after seeing it, I just went ahead to Pinterest to try and find more images like that so that I could get them together, print them, and get my mood board and my palette going. Then, as I was setting up the custom bullet journal that I made for my friend, I just fell in love with the palette that I used for October, where I used ink and some markers to add color. So that's the palette that I knew that I wanted for February as well. And of course, I had to add my metallic watercolor, which you see me using here. And like I said, in January, I am cutting out all the numbers for each month. So here's a time lapse of me doing that. And I just go ahead into the next page and start setting up my mood board. That washi tape that I used reminded me of the time when bakeries used to give their cakes in paper wraps. I had like a flashback using that washi tape, and I think it was a really cute and eco-friendly way to wrap cakes, but all the more so it was ever so fitting for this whole theme. And I kind of discovered this new way of using the washi tape. See how I cut what was extra to kind of fill in that curve, and it looks really good. I was thinking it would look bad, but in the end it worked out. And here I am also discovering a way of making the watercolors stick to the washi tape. It took some patience. As you can see, I'm like adding little drops, and then I had to wait for those to dry completely so that I could add a second coat. But in the end, when it was all dried, it was definitely there. Like, since the washi tape is kind of plasticky, paint usually doesn't stick, but I found a way around it. And here I am drawing another cake. This time I added flowers on it. I'm sure that you have seen those natural cakes with real flowers. Sometimes they are edible. I think they are just simply gorgeous cakes, and the fact that you can eat them, I don't know if I would, but it definitely makes it look really beautiful. So I'm using my Tombow brushes as watercolors here, and I just love the effect that it gives the painting. Like, it's really soft, really pastel, and of course I had to add some sparkle. And then I am just filling in the issues that I have to keep a track of. If you are one of my new subscribers and you don't know me, thank you for being here, first of all. But something that I think you have to know about me is that I've struggled with my health my whole life. It was not until recently, around 2 years ago, that I finally felt better. But even then, there are things that I have to keep a track of. And this health tracker has been so useful. I think it's my favorite one. I've been adding or taking issues from it. But overall, it simply is an excellent way to have an overview of the month and see what things were problematic and when they were problematic. And so if you struggle like me with different things regarding to your health, I think that this tracker could be a good option for you so that you can maybe get a hang of it all and work it out if it's not on your own with your doctor, and see how your system behaves throughout the month, throughout the year. If you would like me to make a more specialized video on it, please let me know. I'm more than happy to share my own experience with it. I am moving on to the next spread, which is my monthly log. I feel like I am experimenting with this because last time in January I made a huge calendar that in the end I didn't even feel that much, so I am going for a smaller one this time in the hopes that it's gonna look a lot more aesthetic and I'm going to make good use of it. So I decided to embellish this spread with my favorite cake, the red velvet. Well, it's one of my most favorites because I just don't have one favorite, but in all honesty, the one that Starbucks has every end of the year is the best red velvet that I've ever had. So I wanted to honor it by drawing some slices of it throughout this spread. So while I am doing that, I thought I'd share with you a little bit of my research around the cake theme. Actually, the first cakes in human history were very different from what we eat today. They were, of course, more bread-like and sweetened with honey. Nuts and dried fruits were often added. And according to the food historians, the ancient Egyptians were the first culture to show evidence of advanced baking skills. The Oxford English Dictionary traces the English word cake back to the 13th century. It is a derivation of kaka, an Old Norse word. Medieval European bakers often made fruitcakes and gingerbread, and these foods could last for many months. The precursors of modern cakes, the round ones with icing, were first baked in Europe sometime in the mid-17th century. This was due primarily to advances in technology, like more reliable ovens and the manufacture and availability of food molds, and also ingredient availability like refined sugar. At that time, cake hoops, which were round molds for shaping cakes that were placed on flat baking trays, were popular. They could be made of metal, wood, or paper, and some were adjustable. Cake pans were sometimes used. The first icing was usually a boiled composition of the finest available sugar, egg whites, and sometimes flavorings. The icing was poured on the cake, which was then returned to the oven for a while. When removed, the icing cooled quickly to form a hard, glossy ice-like covering. It was not until the middle of the 19th century that cake as we know it today, made with extra refined white flour and baking powder instead of yeast, arrived on the scene. And did you know there's a reason why cakes are usually round? There are several theories, but generally, it's thought that the round cakes we know today descended from ancient bread, which were made by hand, typically fashioned into round balls and baked on hard stones, griddles, or shallow pans. So these products naturally relaxed into rounded shapes. By the 17th century, the cake hoops were placed on flat pans to effect that shape. And as time progressed, baking pans in various shapes and sizes became readily available to the general public. Molded cake and fancy icings reached their zenith in Victorian times. And the rest is history that we are familiar with. Nowadays, the cake industry does wonders with their cakes. You can get any sculpture, any shape, any flavor, any texture. It really is amazing when you think about it, how such a simple thing that was bread with honey evolved into something that can make anybody in this world smile. And so here is the final flip through. The cover is simple, but I think it really goes well with the mood board that peeks through, because it's filled with cakes, which I of course would love to try. Then we have the health tracker with just a 2-layer cake, and my monthly log filled with slices of red velvet. Here I just added the meal prep, and I'm trying the daily log for now, so there are no more weeklies. Let me know what you thought of this theme, of the history of the cake, and as usual, thank you so much for watching.